encounters different parts of the deformed mirrors. 120. Ironically, the use of substrate materials with high thermal and mechanical stability make it more difficult to compensate wavefront errors. 121. In combination with the range of wavelengths, the rotated plane of incidence aggravates the already severe stochastic impact on EUV imaging. 122. Wavelength bandwidth, chromatic aberration. Image shift due to defocus depends on wavelength. The angular dependence of multilayer reflectance of the object, mask, is different for different wavelengths, leading to different shifts when defocused. Unlike DUV lithography sources, based on excimer lasers, EUV plasma sources produce light across a broad range of wavelengths. 123, roughly spanning a 2% FWHM bandwidth near 13.5 nm, 13.36 nm, 13.65 nm at 50% power. EUV, 10121 nm, is the band longer than X-rays, 0.110 nm, and shorter than the hydrogen Lyman alpha line. Though the EUV spectrum is not completely monochromatic, nor even as spectrally pure as DUV laser sources, the working wavelength has generally been taken to be 13.5 nm. In actuality, the reflected power is distributed mostly in the 13.3-13.7 range. 124. The bandwidth of EUV light reflected by a multilayer mirror used for EUV lithography is over and /2%, and GT 270 pm, winking sad smiley. 125. The phase changes due to wavelength changes at a given illumination angle may be calculated. 126, and compared to the aberration budget. 127. Wavelength dependence of reflectance. 126, 124, also affects the apodization, or illumination distribution across pupil, for different angles, different wavelengths effectively see different illuminations as they are reflected differently by the multilayer of the mask. 128, 124. This effective source illumination tilt can lead to large image shifts due to defocus. 129. Conversely, the peak reflected wavelength varies across the pupil due to different incident angles. 124, 130. This is aggravated when the angles span or eye radius, for example, annular illumination. The peak reflectance wavelength increases for smaller incident angles. 131. A periodic multilayer shave been proposed to reduce the sensitivity at the cost of lower reflectivity but are too sensitive to random fluctuations of layer thicknesses, such as from thickness control imprecision or interdiffusion. 132. In particular, defocused dense lines at pitches up to twice F minimum resolvable pitch suffer wavelength-dependent edge shifts. 133. A narrower bandwidth would increase sensitivity to mask absorber and buffer thickness on the 1 nm scale. 134, 135. Flare. Flare is the presence of background light originating from scattering off of surface features which are not resolved by the light. In EUV systems, this light can be EUV or out-of-band, OB, light that is also produced by the EUV source. The OB light adds the complication of affecting the resist exposure in ways other than accounted for by the EUV exposure. OB light exposure may be alleviated by a layer coated above the resist, as well as black border features on the EUV mask. 136. However, the layer coating inevitably absorbs EUV light, and the black border adds EUV mask processing cost. Line tip effects. A key challenge for EUV is the counterscaling behavior of the line tip to tip, T2T. Distance as half pitch, HP, is scaled down. 109. arises in part due to lower image contrast for the binary masks used in EUV lithography, which is not encountered with the use of phase shift masks in immersion lithography. 137, 138. The rounding of the corners of the line end leads to line end shortening. 139, and this is worse for binary masks. 140. The use of phase shift masks in EUV lithography has been studied but encounters difficulties from phase control in thin layers. 141, as well as the bandwidth of the EUV light itself. 142. More conventionally, optical proximity correction, OPC, is used to address the corner rounding and line end shortening. In spite of this, it has been shown that the tip-to-tip resolution and the line tip printability are traded off against each other, being effectively CDS of opposite polarity. 143. In unidirectional metal layers, tip-to-tip spacing is one of the more severe issues for single exposure patterning. For the 40 nm pitch vertical lines, an 18 nm nominal tip-to-tip drawn gap resulted in an actual tip-to-tip distance of 29 nm with OPC, optical proximity correction, 109, while for 32 nm pitch horizontal lines, the tip-to-tip distance with a 14 nm nominal gap went to 31 nm with OPC. 144. These actual tip-to-tip distances define a lower limit of the half pitch of the metal running in the direction perpendicular to the tip. In this case, the lower limit is around 30 nm. With further optimization of the illumination, discussed in the section on source mask optimization, the lower limit can be further reduced to around 25 nm. 145. For larger pitches, where conventional illumination can be used, the line tip-to-tip distance is generally larger. For the 24 nm half-pitch lines, with a 20 nm nominally drawn gap, the distance was actually 45 nm, while for 32 nm half-pitch lines, the same nominal gap resulted in a tip-to-tip distance of 34 nm. 144, with OPC. These become 39 nm and 28 nm for 24 nm half-pitch and 32 nm half-pitch respectively. 146. Enhancement opportunities for EUV patterning. Assist features. Assist feature OPC. Assist features help improve image of isolated features, blue, to be more like dense features, gray. However, the more effective they are, the greater the risk that the assist feature will print, orange. Assist features are often used to help balance asymmetry from non-telecentricity at different slit positions, due to different illumination angles, starting at the 7-node, 147, 148, where the pitch is ~41 nm for a wavelength ~13.5 nm and na equals 0.33 corresponding to K1 0.5. 149. However, the asymmetry is reduced but not eliminated, since the assist features mainly enhance the highest spatial frequencies, whereas intermediate spatial frequencies, which also affect feature focus and position, are not much affected. The coupling between the primary image and the self-images is too strong for the asymmetry to be eliminated by assist features. Only asymmetric illumination can achieve this. 66. Assist features may also get in the way of access to power forward/ground rails. Power rails are expected to be wider, which also limits the effectiveness of using assist features, by constraining the local pitch. Local pitches between 1 and 2 the minimum pitch forbid assist feature placement, as there is simply no room to preserve the local pitch symmetry. In fact, for the application to the 2-bar asymmetry case, the optimum assist feature placement may be less than or exceed the 2-bar pitch. 148, depending on the parameter to be optimized: process window area, depth of focus, exposure latitude. The optimum assist feature configuration can be very different. For example, pitch between assist feature and bar being different from 2-bar pitch, symmetric or asymmetric, etc. At pitches smaller than 58 nm, there is a trade-off between depth of focus enhancement and contrast loss by assist feature placement. 148. Generally, there is still a focus exposure trade-off as the dose window is constrained by the need to have the assist features not print accidentally. An additional concern comes from shot noise winking. Sad smiley 150. Sub-resolution assist features, SIFs, cause the required dose to be lower, so as not to print the assist features accidentally. 151. This results in fewer photons. Defining smaller features, see discussion in section on shot noise. As SIFs are smaller features than primary features and are not supposed to receive doses high enough to print, they are more susceptible to stochastic dose variations causing printing errors. 152. This is particularly prohibitive for EUV, where even when the primary feature is printed at 80 mj/cm2, the SRAF suffers from stochastic printing. Source mask optimization. Due to the effects of non-telecentricity, standard illumination pupil shapes, such as disc or annular, are not sufficient to be used for feature sizes of ~20 nm or below, 10 nm node and beyond. 82. Instead, certain parts of the pupil, often over 50%, must be asymmetrically excluded. The parts to be excluded depend on the pattern. In particular, the densest allowed lines need to be aligned along one direction and prefer a dipole shape. For this situation, double exposure lithography would be required for 2D patterns, due to the presence of both X and Y-oriented patterns, each requiring its own 1D pattern mask and dipole orientation. 153, 154. There may be 200-400 illuminating points, each contributing its weight of the dose to balance the overall image through focus. Thus the shot noise effect, to be discussed later, critically affects the image position through focus, in a large population of features. Pitch effect on SMO. SMO carried out gated for one pitch may have varying performance for other pitches. Double or multiple patterning would also be required if a pattern consists of sub-patterns which require significantly different optimized illuminations, due to different pitches, orientations, shapes, and sizes. Impact of slit position and aberrations. Impact of different wavelengths. Different wavelengths effectively have different pupils, resulting in different results of source mask optimization. Largely due to the slit shape, 104, and the presence of residual aberrations, 155. The effectiveness of SMO varies across slit position. 156. At each slit position there are different aberrations, 119, and different azimuthal angles of incidence, adding to different shadowing. 40. Consequently, there could be uncorrected variations across slit for aberration-sensitive features, which may not be obviously seen with regular line space patterns. 148. At each slit position, although optical proximity correction, OPC, including the assist features mentioned above, may also be applied to address the aberrations, 157, 158. They also feed back into the illumination specification, 159, 156, 160, 161, since the benefits differ for different illumination conditions. 157. This would necessitate the use of different source mask combinations at each slit position, i.e., multiple mask exposures per layer. 119, 162. The above-mentioned chromatic aberrations, due to mask-induced apodization, 128, also lead to inconsistent source mask optimizations for different wavelengths. Pitch-dependent focus windows. The best focus for a given feature size varies as a strong function of pitch, polarity, and orientation under a given illumination. 163, at 36 nm pitch, horizontal and vertical dark field features have more than 30 nm difference of focus. The 34 nm pitch and 48 nm pitch features have the largest difference of best focus regardless of feature type. In the 48-64 nm pitch range, the best focus position shifts roughly linearly as a function of pitch, by as much as 10-20 nm. 164, for the 34-48 nm pitch range, the best focus position shifts roughly linearly in the opposite direction as a function of pitch. This can be correlated with the phase difference between the 0 and first diffraction orders. 165, assist features, if they can fit within the pitch, were found not to reduce this tendency much, for a range of intermediate pitches, 166, or even worsened it for the case of 18-27 nm and quasar illumination. 167, 50 nm contact holes on 100 nm and 150 pitches had best focus positions separated by roughly 25 nm. Smaller features are expected to be worse. 168, contact holes in the 48-100 nm pitch range showed a 37 nm best focus range. 169, the best focus position versus pitch is also dependent on resist. 170, critical layers often contain lines at one minimum pitch of one polarity, for example, dark field trenches, in one orientation, for example, vertical, mixed with spaces of the other polarity of the other orientation. This often magnifies the best focus differences, and challenges the tip-to-tip and tip-to-line imaging. 171, reduction of pupil fill. Pupil rotation across slit forces use of much lower pupil fill, within the trapezoids or rectangles, for dipole illumination. A consequence of SMO and shifting focus windows has been the reduction of pupil fill. In other words, the optimum illumination is necessarily an optimized overlap of preferred illuminations for the various patterns that need to be considered. This leads to lower pupil fill providing better results. However, throughput is affected below 20% pupil fill due to absorption. 172, 173, 174, 175, 51. Phase shift masks. A commonly touted advantage of EUV has been the relative ease of lithography, as indicated by the ratio of feature size to the wavelength multiplied by the numerical aperture, also known as the K1 ratio. An 18 nm metal line width has a K1 of 0.444 13.5 nm wavelength, 0.33 Na, for example. For the K1 approaching 0.5, some weaker solution enhancement including attenuated phase shift masks has been used as essential to production with the RF laser wavelength, 193 nm, 176, 177, 178, 179, 180, 181. Whereas this resolution enhancement is not available for EUV. 182, 183, 184, in particular. 3D mask effects including scattering at the absorber edges distort the desired phase profile. 183, also, the phase profile is effectively derived from the plane wave spectrum reflected from the multilayer through the absorber rather than the incident plane wave. 185, without absorbers, near-field distortion also occurs at an etched multilayer sidewall due to the oblique incidence illumination winking. Sad smiley. 186, Some light traverses only a limited number of bilayers near the sidewall. 63. Additionally, the different polarizations, TEL and TM, have different phase shifts. 63. Fundamentally, a chromeless phase shift mask enables pitch split